Hello and welcome to R&R Cinetalks. I am Clinton Robison and I will be your guide through this journey of everything independent film related. Sit back and listen to me as I interview various people involved in the film industry, do some movie reviews, and have some great generalized discussions. Thank you and enjoy. Hello everybody, thank you for joining us. For an actress, you look so uncomfortable to be on camera, Jordyn.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm comfortable. I'm nervous. This is live, so I'm kind of containing yourself.
Thank you for joining me today on this special episode of R&R Cinetalks, where I am joined by cast members from the feature film ParaGenex Shadow of the Mind, Jordyn Marie, Jennifer James, and Nick Kafkis. You all have seen Nick probably 7 times by now, just because he's
not enough.
One of the few people I can jump to and be like, hey, you don't do anything, want to be on my podcast? So I was like, yeah. So
I am a very hard-working, mostly out-of-work actor. I thank you.
Hard-working, mostly out of work. He works hard when he does work, guys. So how are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Good, yeah. Excited to be here.
Fabulous.
Everybody
Fabulous.
So enthusiastic. What is going on here? So thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to have you guys on here because, well, I also like talking to you guys in general. That's why I've cast you in like all my projects. But also because like we got a couple of interesting dynamics between your characters we could talk about, between Sam and Eleanor, that wonderful sisterly relationship. Sam and Toby, that complicated relationship. And I mean, Toby and Eleanor never really interact in the film, but you know, we can assume what their life is like together.
We're besties.
Yeah.
So, I like to just start off with a generic question, you know, like, how do you guys feel about this project? Remember, I'm podcaster Clint, I'm not director Clint, so anything you say won't hurt my feelings today.
Uh-huh.
Open floor.
Oh. That never happens with you. What's going on?
It happens with me all the time. I, like, try to give control away as much as possible. Okay, I've asked Nick this before, so he already has an answer prepared. Nick?
It's going good.
That's how you feel about the project? It's
Real
just,
good.
it's going really good.
Sorry, I had to. No, I'm really enjoying it so far. Obviously, you know, the role of Toby is a lot of layers to him. There's a lot of, you know, built-up failures that kind of create his persona, and it's been interesting to dive into that.
A lot different than a police officer, right?
Yes.
I only say
Much
that,
different.
audience, because like 90% of Nick's characters he's been able to play as have been police officers in almost every decade.
Yep. I'm a time cop. It's official.
Jordyn, this is probably, at the time of filming, going to be your second film? What's it like being this character for your second character?
It's nerve-wracking. She is complicated, in all the good ways, though. But, yeah, when you first sent me the script to read, it was captivating from the start, and I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then I started reading deeper into Sam, and I was like, oh, I have a lot of work to do this right. So, but it's been a blast so far. Excited to be on part of the team.
Awesome. All good things. I like this. Jennifer, this is probably going to be, like we've talked about in private between you and I, this character is the complete opposite of you as a human being.
I feel like this character is the hardest character for me, and I was thinking about it, like, ever. Like, even like when I was playing Mary Had a Little Lamb when I was like in kindergarten, and I was petrified. Like, I was more like, this role, it's emotional. Anyone can say these lines, right? So this role, I basically have to have an air about me, and to have an air about you, it's not really what you say, it's how you say it, your demeanor, your mannerisms, and such, right?
Right.
So the person, Eleanor, well, she's a bitch. So I'm not. So I really had to, which I'm a happy person, so this isn't like the most fun work, but it's actually really interesting and hard, so I kind of dig it because I like a challenge. But it's just been learning how to look uppity and snobby, and it's just it's opening a totally different door for me. Maybe I'll be great at it. I won't know, you know how I am. I'm different. I have to know like how we respond to each character, how the dialogue is going until it really comes out. So right now I'm just figuring it out in my head and just putting on a different mask for part of the day, and it's exhausting. I like it. It's challenging. I think it's going to be really fun. Like mostly because of that, and because I know, lots of you, some of you.
Right. It's definitely a fun character for you. Sorry, somebody keeps messaging me in the middle of this, and I am not enjoying it popping up on my broadcast. But it's gonna be awesome to see you do this, especially with like the little bit of sidebars you and I have had through Messenger and stuff in the conversations. But the fact that you like the one character everybody has confirmed that is like a parallel to your character, Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. And it was so funny that you have never seen Game of Thrones before this. And like you've watched like probably half the series now just because you've seen every clip she's in ever.
Ever, yeah. I mean, I don't know about the series, but I definitely know about her. And not maybe about her so much. I wasn't really paying attention to like the exact story and frame of everything. I was paying attention to her reaction to the other characters. Like, I feel like I have to put myself in a totally different body. It's not like acting where you can kind of fill in the normal human blanks and then just be like a monster or something. I've played serial killers. I've played schizophrenics with my voice is on stage dressed in black on a stage. Like, that stuff I thought was tough, but I loved it. This is nothing like I just never thought something would be so hard, because it's just how I will have to hold myself as such a completely different person than who I am, like built deep to my core. Like, my go-to mannerisms are to be like friendly and it's something. Yeah.
And now you have to be the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it's all dependent on that. And so I have to look at these faces that people make when they're playing a snob or when they're snobby. Like, I've even just looked up snobby. Like, written down other words to see if it would trigger something in my head. I mean, I took a couple days and went nuts with it. I just didn't do anything else because I just really wanted to. And it worked out. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. That's I guess kind of short story long, the whole thing that I've done to make this character itself. So
right, and like your character's mannerisms, it's not even really verbal or dialogue, because everything you say is something that could be taken as an okay response. Yeah. And it's the words, in the way you say them, and the facial expressions, and it's definitely, I wouldn't have given you it if I didn't think you could do it. And like the fact that you're doing all this work like months ahead of time. Well, now it's more like a month and a half ahead of time. 2 months. We're 2 months.
I've been work, man. That's how I do it.
Just work the whole way. And also, I love that I made Eleanor and Sam's relationship is the complete opposite of Jordyn and Jennifer's relationship.
And what we've kind of done before. So like there was always like an element of caring there, like, so this is like a uncaring. It's the same but it's opposite. We're family, but we're No,
Yeah.
The crap
to
that
me, everything.
Yeah.
the thing that I love the
I have to
most.
think about it, even though I love you, girl. Like, I don't think that I'm being snotty on the set if I appear to be, because I might have to be trying to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the way you act too, Jennifer, I wouldn't say it's like 100% method, but like when it's an emotion you don't naturally feel, you almost have to like stay in that emotion. Like on the set of the scratching, you were basically having a panic attack the entire time.
Yeah, it wasn't though, because I had panic attacks, and that was like the freeing moment, because I was forcing myself to be in this embodiment of this person who was having a panic attack, so I had complete control of it. But yes, I kept my breathing up.
Yeah.
I kept the sweating.
So Jennifer's just basically gonna be a snob on set the whole time.
The flipping is gonna. I'm just gonna have to go,
Right.
meditate a little bit.
And I love one scene that, like, every time we read this in the script reads, like, everybody laughs because it's, like, the most insulting thing ever. The fact that you have to spit in Jordyn's hands, like, something you would never do as a human being.
That's fine. We'll get through it. We're just gonna have to practice it first. Like, throw the girl, like, hey, I'll let you spit in my hand. I'll spit in your hand.
We'll practice spitting on each other.
Yeah. Yes.
To get it right.
Just one-on-one.
Oh my.
I'm sorry. This just sounds so repulsing.
Your sisters.
Like Toby and Jacob have a healthy relationship, Nick.
Yeah.
We don't make out.
Oh my god!
Spit hand style.
Our makeup artist is like, no guys, no, I have stuff for that. No spitting. Thank you, Gail.
Fake spit. I'm like, that seems crazy, because we could just spit and it probably wouldn't be a big deal. That's funny. We're gonna like throw lube. Is that how we do that, or what do we do?
Teach me how to spit, Jack.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Seriously, like that's what they use. I did some makeup arty stuff, some other films and stuff. So we use. Wondering what that's about. I will find out.
So, without spoilers, how would you... I mean, we kind of already described a little bit about Eleanor, but, like, I could describe all day. But how would you describe Eleanor, Jennifer? Like, what's your impression of the character without spoilers?
I won't spoil it because I have to keep very simple terms in my head. And then
Right.
feel that as I'm doing it in order to stay snobby. I've used that word a lot because for me, like, that's a powerful word I've heard my whole life, and those are the people like that,
Yeah.
So that kind of encompasses all the like acronyms and stuff that I was telling you about. They're basically all acronyms, and then just different things that were popping into my head when I was watching Cersei. And then seeing, okay, here's everything every emotion, everything I've noticed about her. Tell me which one you want to use. I stick to that. I don't know. I think that she loves money. I picture like someone that feels like I'm feeling really good about myself. I have an air about myself. And there's just I think there's an inferiority complex that comes off as a superiority complex.
Right. Like
how it works.
Like one of those, like, if she's defined by her stuff and her possessions. Yeah. Right.
Yes. Materialistic. Yeah, I like where I am. And so I love it. So the only way to really love something like that and be so materialistic would probably show off his manifestations of looking down your nose in general. So, again, tricky.
And Jordyn, we've talked so much about Eleanor and Jennifer as Eleanor. Like, do you find any type of difficulties being Sam, because like you come across as this like really happy person that like, and Sam is like this really like down, depressed, like she defines herself basically about Toby is how she defines herself. Like her whole world is this one human being.
Yeah.
He's a good anchor.
Definitely an anchor. Just, you know, not in a good way.
No, she's definitely the character that has that solid exterior, rock hard, cold, tries to be the brute, the tough guy type thing. But time and time again, we see her, you know, put other people before her. She puts Toby before her. She puts Eleanor before her. Even Paul at one point. She doesn't really even know Paul.
Right.
And so I think the difficulties I find with that is, you know, finding the reasons why she has to put up that cold front, you know, to people and try and be the tough guy, because clearly she cares about people.
Right.
But just not at first glance.
And yeah, and you basically hit her like right on the head. Like she's never put herself first. Even in the script, when you find out like her putting herself first was that bar, and she immediately offered Toby half of ownership of it, it's like she can't be herself without somebody else being there. And that's definitely the type of character that is really difficult for a lot of people to portray unless they're like that naturally. And like I think you're hitting it on the head in the script readings. And like I'm sure there's like parts of it that's difficult for you naturally as a person, but like you're an actor, you're good at what you do. Like Jennifer and Nick over here, Nick really doesn't have to pretend to be Toby, so it's no, I'm kidding. You're not nearly as big of a mess as Toby is. He's basically like
You just haven't caught me on a good day.
And like what's it, because you don't seem like a codependent person, and Sam's clearly a codependent person when it comes like 100% Toby. She's codependent with Toby. Like is like what I'm really missing the question here, but like do you find that difficult to be that type of person?
Yes and no. Not so much anymore, because, you know, I've worked on it and we've done the read-throughs, and I, you know, see how Nick is portraying Toby, and it's starting to fall into place a little easier. But at the start, I really, you know, was digging through the script and trying to find, you know, exact moments where it kind of made sense why she needed him, or what exactly she was lacking that she saw in him that he had to give her or offer her, which is not much. To her, it's, you know, the whole world. You know, they grew up together. Like, they've always been together. And so I think a part of it is, you know, she's scared. And he's kind of like a comfort to her in a weird way.
Like a familiarity, a sense of familiarity.
Yeah, and, you know, I almost wonder if part of it's she hangs on to him because he's such a mess. It makes her feel a little more put together. Obviously she cares for him with more than that, but I wonder if there are those moments where that's why she needs him, you know?
Right, because
even as a homeless looking dude, he is very handsome. So I get it.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
And I always even as a writer, I find these characters, like specifically the Toby-Sam relationship, very intriguing to me, because like as I was writing it is when it was developing, and that's why I kept going back and revising it, because like it kept evolving to this like mess, this convoluted mess, you know, like when you find wired headphones in your pocket, and they're like were always tangled up when you were younger, and like it would take you 20 minutes to untangle it. Like, that's almost kind of like how the relationship is, because there's not, like, a clear beginning or end point, not a clear what are they to each other type of relationship. And it's to the point where, like, it's complicated beyond being complicated.
Yeah.
And how would having both of you on here, like, how would either of you describe their relationship, because we've tried before with Carl, Marcus, Nick, and I, and like we couldn't even come to a cohesive what are they.
Well, I kind of view them a lot as like that couple that has a history, but Toby's messed up so many times that, you know, it's hard for him to even recognize when she's trying to, you know, be a remedy to a bad situation. And he takes her for granted a lot. And I think ultimately through this, like, they find that middle ground where it's like, yes, we have feelings for each other, but it's not as like obvious and in your face as most films are.
Right. There's not even a clear romantic point. Like that walking scene at the very end, I have described to you guys as the romantic point, and you have to like super look for it to see it being that point.
Yeah, I don't think there's a real good label for it. Nick, you know, is hitting it on the head a little bit. It's hard to explain and like describe and put into words, but like when you see it, you're like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? There's like a couple scenes where like catastrophe is happening, and then at the end, like the two of them just like hold each other, and that's it. And that's like that moment, like everything's okay, and that's how you describe their relationship, I think, in my opinion.
And I think with our relationship too, not ours, obviously, the characters, but you know, Sam is really the opportunity for Toby to show the audience that he is dealing with some pretty severe mental disorders.
Right.
You really see those jumps in emotion, and, you know, the toll that it is taking on both of them, really, because he's not in it alone, even though he thinks he is.
Right. And Sam basically has to deal with it just as much as Toby. And it's not like even at the beginning you see that she's clearly trying to help, and he's in such a constant state of up and down and manic and not grasping what's reality and what isn't, that he lashes out, because if he doesn't lash out at her, he's going to lash out inwards at himself, and Toby's so self-focused that he doesn't he can't do that.
Yeah. And those demons really come out.
Yeah, and he gives her every opportunity to walk away.
And
she doesn't, so.
And in this film, there are those dark fantasy moments. There's those, like, fantasy, supernatural moments above normal. But at the heart of this story, it really is the journey of Toby and Sam, and the people connected to them, of Eleanor and Jacob. And, you know, we start branching out to other characters, and their journeys are there too, but really it's that core 5 people. Lawrence, Toby, Sam, Eleanor, and Jacob, and how their relationships have impacted each other. And realistically, how Toby's mental illness has affected everyone around him as well. Like, even... like Eleanor, she clearly gave up on Toby. She gives no shits about Toby whatsoever, and has almost given up on Sam, which is completely opposite of how Jennifer is as a human being.
What?
And at this point, Sam's character, like, and this is all at the starting, like everybody watching, you see this within 5 minutes. Sam's character is the only person obviously trying for Toby. Jacob kind of tries a little bit, but not in an emotional way. More like, do you need more money type of situation. Here, I'll pay...
Jacob's soft.
Yeah.
You're that Marcus, you're soft.
He's like, I'll pay whatever you need me to pay for. I'll pay for you to go to therapy, and somebody else can solve my problems for me. And Sam's the only person, like, putting a stake into Toby's well-being.
Yeah.
Which, like... Did you guys think it was going to be as big of a project about, like, basically mental illness? This is a project about mental illness and addiction when I told it to you guys. Like,
I mean, that's honestly the thing that got me most excited about it. Like, the fact that there's some powers involved, you know, it almost feels like, oh, God, what was that movie with Cuba Jr.?
There's a lot of those.
Radio Man, yes.
Oh, Radio?
Yeah, radio. That was it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people call it a football movie, but it's really more about radio.
Well, that's a true life story.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the way they shot that, it's almost like you're getting a glimpse inside of his head, and a lot of like what's going on with him isn't actually happening in his reality. And I feel like with Toby, he's getting a bit of that too. Obviously not to that extent, but definitely some parallels.
Absolutely, and that's how I wanted to write it, was for it to be more about that mental illness and just set it in a setting that has those powers. And even then, like, the powers Toby may or may not possess coincide with his mental illness. And, like, that makes it even more complicated, because at the end, people can't see what's real and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I'm excited to film some of those scenes. Because,
I'm not crazy. The world's crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to film some of those scenes, because even at some points the audience isn't sure what's actually happening.
It's super thought-provoking. It really is. And I mean, there's so many things, just as someone else on this team who has studied behavior, that when you're telling me about how it kind of ended up, and you know, just knowing what it meant to you and all that stuff, there's so many things that are intertangled and with it that can make this branch out to so many different people in so many different ways.
Right, and like I've talked to you guys before on The Scratching, because The Scratching was a film about abuse, and it was a film about alcoholism, it was a film about toxic families and toxic histories, and also had a little bit to do with bullying because of Nick and Marcus's characters' pasts, and had to deal with people pleaser mentalities and stuff. And this, like, again, every character embodies one type of toxic personality trait, or actually, more to put it, there's a lot of characters that embody a mental disorder, because Toby has schizophrenia. Like, that's
I think another important thing too with that is everybody has sorry, I lost my train of thought. I just got a fucking notification. Come back to me.
It happens to me on this podcast so much. It's like nobody wants to talk to me all day, and then I'm in the middle of a podcast episode, and it's like, notification, hey, talk to me. But I tried to build it so that everybody had something. You know, if it's a toxic personality trait, an addiction, a dark history, or a mental disorder. And
I got what I was going to say. Sorry.
Well, I'll finish. Or are you going to lose it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And then I also tried to tie a lot of the people that do have these powers or gifts or whatever, tie their gift to coincide with their mental disorder. So, like, Toby's, for example, telepathy on top of schizophrenia, and like other things of that nature. Because originally this project wasn't going to be the ParaGenex project. It was going to be a project about schizophrenia and alcoholism and abuse. And then I got the go-ahead from Darrell Miller, and I was like, you know what? What if Toby was schizophrenic? Like, and he had telepathy. Like, what then? Like, and then it was more like a what-if scenario in my head. How would this work? And then world building. And then it was just like, I've said before, it was going to be a short, like, it was just going to be the bar scene, Toby meets John, the end. And then I just, like, kept growing and growing, adding more characters, developing, and originally I was going to play Toby because I wrote him basically as an extreme of myself. Because I've dealt with addiction issues before, I've dealt with, my family has a history of alcoholism, and that's, like, a fear I have myself, that, because it's hereditary. So I had a fear that I could develop it, which is why, like, you'll see me not drink for, like, weeks on end, because I'm like, I don't want to risk it. And, you know, I have some mental disorders, nothing like schizophrenia, but, like, I've known people that have dealt with it, and is actually something I've studied intensely because, you know, people in my ex-in-laws family dealt with it. So, like, it's something I definitely wanted to research and make aware. But that's where this project came from, and that's why it's a big deal to me. Nick.
Still actually on topic, so we're good. So another thing too is a lot of these characters have very unfair expectations levied against them. You know, Toby is expected to be the perfect son that Lawrence is trying to make him out to be, but he's got all of these problems mentally that he can't possibly achieve the things that were supposed to be easy for him. And then Jacob, being the older brother, kind of got the brunt of, you know, having that same expectation, but he couldn't live up to it because he's got his own issues.
Right.
And, you know, Eleanor and Sam all kind of have that as well, where there's just different expectation issues that have been happening to them that really set up, you know, all of them to fail at some point.
Right. And like Eleanor as a character met those expectations, and it's something we haven't explored much. Her character wasn't explored a lot just because time constraints and plot constraints. But Sam's character was expected to achieve as equal or greater to Eleanor because Eleanor was able to do it. And Sam is actually the only character in the entire group that went and did her own thing, and instead of finding happiness from it, is just finding a bitter family about it. Which, like, and even then you could say that she didn't do her own thing because she stayed in the small town that her family is from, instead of going out on her own. So even then she's got, you know, that going against her. And
the path less traveled syndrome.
Yep. And it's, I've always told you guys I like my stories to have a lot of layers. And, like, you can take this as a film, a dark film with powers, or you can go deeper and deeper and into multiple layers. And, like, I believe that films should have characters that resemble real people. And a lot of people have said it's like a slice of life. Like, all these characters feel like they could be real people. Did you guys expect that when I was like... I told you guys about this movie, like, back, like, before we even finished the scratching, that it was going to be a thing and all that. I didn't expect it to come out as well as it is so far, and hopefully we can capture the vision of the script and everything on camera, which we will. It'll be good. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
Huge. Oh, funny.
Is there a specific moment you guys are excited to film with these characters?
Yes.
Our first scene.
The first scene? You're excited for that first bar scene?
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely, like, sets the tone for the entire film. Especially between Sam and Toby's characters. Like, that... It sets the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's quite the
Explosive rage.
introduction. Yeah, it throws you right into the action, into the film, and you're like, oh, these are these characters. Like, it hits you in the face, kind of. But that's how the whole film is. So I think I'm excited for that scene, for sure. And I'm kind of excited for the scene with Jennifer, too, that we were talking about, where she spits in my hand and gets a little bit of a cat fight.
Yeah, that's going to be so much fun, isn't it? I'd like to work on that with you. Oh my gosh. That's so much
Yes.
Well, in that scene...
Yeah.
Go on, sorry I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, I think... that scene is so intriguing to me because kind of what you were saying earlier about, Sam didn't meet all the expectations that Eleanor did. It's not that she couldn't, it's that she chose not to. And so I think that scene is so interesting because Eleanor is like doing everything in her power to be like, I'm bigger than you, and
over such a small thing. This whole cat fight starts over a small thing that you're like, Eleanor obviously is in the wrong here. But she's just enjoying this moment. This whole I have the power right now. And Sam is also reacting poorly, but she just experienced some really traumatizing stuff that will probably require years of therapy to get over. And I definitely, I had people read it and they're like, this doesn't make sense because Eleanor's acting, not properly. A normal person would be like, here, take this and do what you need to do. And I'm just like, well, First, Eleanor's acting exactly like the character Eleanor would, like to a T, like exactly like she should. And second, who told you any of these people are normal people?
Yeah.
None of them are sane. Like, not a single character in this entire script is sane. To a perfect degree.
It's really.
No one really...
Except Toby.
Nobody really is. Toby is the most clear-headed, level-headed person in the entire project.
Even keel. Nothing really throws him for a loop.
What's going on here?
Real go with the flow. You know?
Yeah. Really mellow guy
Yeah, it's...
when he has his pills. There's that caveat.
There's that... When he has the pills and doesn't consume alcohol while taking the pills. Or abuse the pills.
Look, so you take half your script and then you do a little yay and then you have some fun. Okay? That's politics. That's politics.
Oh, good old days.
And what's cool about that scene, too, is we were talking about this in one of the table reads. It's a long scene, but when you look at it, it's more like two scenes put together. And the only reason they're one scene is because it happens at the same time in the same room. Because your guys' thing, like, switches. It goes from it being an argument between the two of you to, like, a hostage situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little caught off guard, caught up in our cat fight. I like to put it.
And the person in the room is actually 100% right with how they're talking to you guys, too, and everything they say about you, which is, like, what I find intriguing about that character, Philip. Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite of the bad guys, the way I wrote him. What's great is the three of you are never in a scene together. You never have Jacob, Sam, and Eleanor in the same room. And that's kind of... It's great because that's something I can play off in the future, but also, like, I didn't mean for that to happen.
Just one scene.
One scene?
We are? Oh.
What?
At the end.
Oh, yeah, at the
grand
end.
Party scene. Yeah.
The full cast besides... Well, everybody's there. It's just the characters aren't on screen at the same time.
I'm talking about the flashback.
The flashback, yes, the bistro, the cafe.
Oh,
yeah.
The little, gotcha.
The little scene, flashback to happier
We're all
times.
There. Toby hasn't lost his shit yet.
It's so different from when the film's taking place, you know? It's, like, jarring to see almost. It's like almost the breaking point.
That's gonna be fun. Actually, now that I think about it, that'll be fun just to, like, switch it up a little, do that. It's gonna be interesting.
I totally forgot about that scene because we haven't actually had, like, we've read through it only once because we haven't had the full team at a table read. That's bad when the writer forgets about something.
Well, that's why Sheriff Collins is here, son.
And it's gonna just be great to have the four of you on a set together, like, again.
I know! I'm so excited.
And that scene is actually, like, a pivotal moment in the storytelling. It happens, like, near the end, though. That's, like, one of the last scenes, right? That's, like, scene, like, 36 or 30, 32?
It's late, yeah.
In the 30s. And, like, it's gonna be great to see that moment that, like, probably what we could say is, like, the last happy moment of the family. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's even not really happy because you're all still a little bitter about some shit. And, like, Eleanor is still being herself, but it's that moment that's...
Yeah. Don't anybody take me credit for anything that I could possibly be taking credit for.
Yeah.
But, like,
that's right.
The last moment that we could say all four of you were in a room that didn't end in an argument. And we don't even see how it ends. It flashes forward before we even get to see you guys, like, leave the bistro. But, like... Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the flashback moments a lot. Like, that flashback moment between Sam and Toby when, like, there was basically the catalyst for everything that happened for Toby, was Sam actually giving Toby good advice, and then Toby taking that advice, and it just turning into a shit show.
Yeah. It's all...
That is what I do.
It's all Sam's fault. If she would have never tried to be a good friend.
You said she's just a friend?
Well, at that moment, I even put that moment where you friend zoned Sam.
You do friend zone me in that scene.
That's right.
That whole
Get me another drink. Peace.
that whole thanks, Sam. Thanks for what? Being a good friend. And then Sam looks down.
Yeah, that's right. That's usually how it goes too.
Yeah. Like the pat on the head.
Just, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I will do that when we film that scene. Give her a little.
Just that pat on the back.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, yeah, the like shoulder, like.
Thanks, pal.
You want a hip hug, and then we can, nail fists or something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great time, especially because you guys already have that built-up chemistry. Like, that's kind of why I wanted to get you guys in on this project, is you already had that set chemistry. I'd already worked with you guys, so I already knew who you could play. Nick stole the role I wrote for myself originally. But
Well, I am a thief.
I couldn't be Toby. I could not. I don't have that in me. I would laugh at so many inappropriate moments just because when things get too serious, I make jokes. So I could not be Toby. His entire character is serious, which is actually why there are those moments where he has those handling stressful situations with humor, which I actually have a character call out, which is actually somebody calling the writer out on having to involve humor in a serious situation. So really, it was just really meta on me calling myself out on my own bullshit.
I mean, that's exactly how I handle stressful situations, though. If I'm uncomfortable, I totally try and,
Throw in a
crack
Karate
humor in
Kid.
there.
Throw in a Karate Kid reference.
Yeah, or something,
Yeah. Which, by the
misquote a movie or.
which, by the way, like, I'm really excited for all the scenes that, like, the Paul and Toby scenes are going to be fun too. And what's interesting is the Sam and Paul scenes. Like, Sam immediately is like, I trust you.
Yeah, well, and yeah, exactly. They don't even know each other, but
a crazy guy a homeless looking guy barges into a hostage situation, executes some people, and just says, hey, back door in a couple minutes. Like, even mouths it, and Sam's like, okay.
yeah.
leaves
Hey,
her sister and her sister and Toby's father there. It just goes.
Yeah.
Well, she's a
and then
bitch
the next
and
scene where
he's an
they're
ass,
together-
so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
the next scene, Paul and Sam are together. She's fighting somebody for him. I don't want to say too much.
I wouldn't really call what she does fighting.
She's protecting him, and that's like I said earlier. That's what she does. She puts other people before her, and it's interesting.
I know.
She's a survivor.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. Your character kind of just gets, like, the brunt of, like, she just gets a shit show. Eleanor this whole time is just at home letting everybody else handle the craziness, and then the craziness comes to her.
Yeah.
Going getting my manicures and stuff. Are you gonna pay for manicures and stuff and for all the jewelry and stuff I should be wearing and whatnot? It's just
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's in the budget.
borrowing from some nice place.
You guys don't know it, but that's half of our budget. Is that?
Makes sense.
The other half is my salary.
The other half is paying off, like, for all these medications we have to put Nick on. No, not really. He's not method acting.
I'm bringing some of my own.
We're not letting you Heath Ledger this role, Nick. We're not letting you do that. It always ends badly.
What? Change my name and become like a great jouster?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Go way method. But so I
Blow
think
up a hospital.
Blow up a hospital. No, that's part 3. That's the third film. You know what's funny about that scene? The demolitions guy.
It's gonna blow up.
He didn't know it was gonna blow up, and it wasn't supposed to, like, actually blow up. and it actually blew up. It was supposed to blow up when he walked off camera. Like, he was supposed to be gone, and it was supposed to be a different shot. And just something happened with the wiring, and it actually blew up. And that was his actual reaction to the building blowing up. I love knowing those little things.
Yeah.
Least favorite character in the movie?
The director.
You're fired.
Okay, so I am playing Toby. Great. No, never. Not least.
I would probably.
Not least favorite actor, but least favorite character.
I would probably say Jacob.
Huh.
And it's nothing. It's nothing like I don't like the character for the movie. I think it's perfect. The older brother in me hates seeing an older brother who's so weak and unwilling to really fight for his younger brother.
Makes sense. Like, that's my older brother instinct, too. I'm the oldest of 4. So, I get it. You know, I've gotten in fights with people that I should not have been in fights with for my brothers. Like, I should have lost, but I didn't, just because, like, I go, like, stupid rage mode. Where the pain comes back 30 minutes later and I fall down in pain. But I get it. Like, and that's why I kind of wrote him like that. I was like, what's the worst older brother possible? Oh, the worst older brother possible is helping their younger brother get hurt. Or at least turning a blind eye to
like,
it.
You know, he talks about how he always wanted to protect him and he always wanted to keep him safe. And the whole time, every decision that Jacob makes really
self-preservation.
Toby.
And it's all about Jacob's self-preservation. Yeah.
So fuck that guy.
To summarize, fuck that guy.
Lawrence is my least favorite, which is such a typical answer. Like, he's got to be everyone's least favorite. But
once you start getting into his character, though, you start seeing those qualities.
Yeah, and just everything that comes out of his mouth, just like, like, I don't know. And he's not even. I wouldn't say he's like the main villain of the movie, even. And
there's not even really a main villain, which is funny.
Right, and no, I think that's my favorite, for sure.
Jennifer?
Myself. The opposite of what I love about love. This movie. So I'm going to kick its ass, and it's going to be fun.
You guys didn't even name the actual villains, which is hilarious.
But the way the villains
are dope.
Yeah, they're so cool.
I don't mind a villain. I mind a bitch.
And that's funny. You guys wrote like the 3 characters. I was like, there needs to be somebody that people can just get behind hating. And those are the 3 characters you can get behind hating. You can get behind hating Jacob. You can get behind hating Lawrence. And you can easily get behind hating Eleanor. And like, they all have redeeming quality. Well, Eleanor actually has like no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
She's a doctor.
Those of goodness.
She's a success, kind of.
Yeah.
But like Lawrence,
but she still wants the money.
But it also is just all about this. That successful people can be terrible.
Exactly.
Successories.
And like,
yeah, ooh, a nice mishmashing of words.
And like, you guys are right. The villains actually did get written to be, like you guys said, cool and dope. They're bad people, but even Luke, who has like 10 lines, comes across as like that calm, quiet, cool. And then you have John, that's like this like very self-assured guy who thinks he's sophisticated and he tries to be sophisticated, which I think is great for Ruben, by the way.
And Shrek too. He needs it.
And Philip, just this guy who's like really wordy and understands situations, and like he obviously thinks he's smarter than he is, but at the same time he's got the same type of degree as Eleanor. You know what I mean? And then you don't really see Maxwell much, but Maxwell has that air of control until some stuff happens, and then he kind of goes very dark side. But even then, like,
Just misunderstood.
I mean, we don't have to get into that. There's stuff that isn't revealed in this movie that'll be revealed later. And then even Paul, because Paul's not really a good guy, but he's not really a bad guy. Like, I'm sure you guys don't have a handle on Paul yet. Because
The thing I like about Paul is that he's almost like playing the faith so that he gets to the correct path.
Mm-hmm.
So, what he's saying is very coded and might not make a lot of sense at the time, but ultimately he's saying the right thing in the right moment because he knows what he needs to do.
And he's kind of like doubling up on everything he says. It can be taken one way or the other way, and everybody draws their own conclusions to it, which, by the way, it's super hard to write like that. Like, I don't talk in code at all. I am a very straightforward person, and you guys know that. I will tell you exactly what I mean and what I want. And writing, like, this Confucius, like, almost riddleistic type of writing is so difficult, and it's been through so many revisions.
It's well written, though. I mean, yeah, I can't wait for people to see it.
Me neither. It's going to be a great film, and we've had multiple people ask already when we can see it. It hasn't been made yet, guys. Sorry, feature films are really difficult to make, especially without money. So, if you want to see it really quickly, go ahead and go and like a ParaGenex Shadow the Mind. There's a public group on Facebook. Join it, and then you'll get to see when the crowdfunding campaign gets launched so that we can get this movie made as soon as possible so that you can go and watch it. Crowdfunding campaign launches February 12th. I think it's actually launching midnight February 12th, and as many donations as we can get on the first day will be appreciated, because if we reach up to 100 donations, and every donation afterwards will help us be featured on the Indiegogo homepage. Had to fit in that plug.
It'll also be really, really cool.
You'll also help them get paid, which actors usually don't get that.
We might get an extra high C for lunch.
It won't be Little Caesars. For every $10 you can feed a starving actor in your area.
For $1.58, you too can support an American.
Off topic.
Well, with that, guys, like I said, go join the public group on Facebook, ParaGenex Shadow of the Mind. I'm sure you can just type in Shadow of the Mind, it'll pop up. The artwork is a dope piece of artwork actually created by Jordyn herself. She designed our poster, and it is amazing. Thank you, Jordyn.
No, thank you.
This is a hidden talent we didn't even know she had until she was bored one night and designed the poster for scratch.
Thanks, Jordyn.
That's really talented too. Good point.
But you'll also see all three of their names as the top billing members, including with Ruben and Marcus. And then my name's on there too. But you join that group, not only will you get to see when the campaign launches, you'll get to see new news, you'll get to see whenever these videos are posted. I'm taking the function where you can't go back and watch them again after they've launched, just because they're going to be on the YouTube channel. But you'll also see a link to the YouTube channel there when it launches next Monday. And with that, we have to go because since they're not paid actors yet, Jordyn has to go to her job. Thank you, everyone, for enjoying that episode. I really hope you liked it. Thank you for tuning in, and please continue to do so. Subscribe and look out for every new episode. One should drop on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I always live stream my episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please tune in and enjoy that as well. And remember, Support your independent film community.